Bach.
Yeah.
Sol Auerbach.
Auerbach, whatever, whichever one you want.
Bach is good. Let me turn off the light.
That way.
Look who we got here, Facebook people. Sol Auerbach. Look at him.
It's my pleasure.
Hi.
My pleasure.
Hi, Sol.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I told everybody you're from New York, that you're a rapper.
Rapper and comedian, yeah.
Yes, you're Dyslexic Soul the rapper. Dyslexic Soul the rapper. And Sol Auerbach the comedian.
Yeah.
So talk to me. What do you have to say? You're in the thick of this whole pandemic out there in New York. What's going on?
Well, I may have an interesting take on it from a totally different perspective because let me just look a little more presentable. I'm sorry.
You look
I
fine.
happen to also be a funeral home worker.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Let's hear this.
I kind of still have my day at what?
Let's hear this.
I'm a mortician's assistant in a bunch of funeral homes, and let's just say we're kind of packed right now with COVID-19 cases. So whoever is saying that this isn't real or this is overblown, I wish I could bring you to my work, but we have privacy laws, so I can't. But trust my word, it's pretty crazy out there now.
My gosh. Whereabouts is your funeral home that you work at in New York?
There's a bunch of them all over, but I'd rather not mention my company by name.
Oh, no. No, I mean, like, is it in, like, the east?
Over New York, there's a bunch of them.
Right. Okay. So you work in a funeral home, and on a daily basis, you're seeing everything that conspiracy theorists out here are saying doesn't happen. You're seeing it.
Yeah, I'm seeing it. These conspiracy theorists are wrong. I see it firsthand. I would gladly show pictures, but we have laws of privacy, so I can't.
Yes.
But I'm sure if a local funeral home, especially here in New York, where and I don't want to give names to where I work because for personal reasons, but I'm sure you go to any local funeral home in New York, you're and you ask them you ask them what's going on, they will tell you that there's tons of corpses there. Well, we don't have any political agenda or political bias. We just do our jobs. We work with deceased bodies, deceased persons, and it's just real.
Right.
We're not paid by the government to tell you this. It's real.
How do you cope with it, Sol?
It's not easy, on the one hand, yes, we're making a little money. We're making a little extra money sometimes on the weeks that my hours aren't cut, but that's a whole other situation. Some weeks they cut our hours because they want less living people in the building. But this past week I worked a lot, and it's overwhelming, but we don't have it as bad as the doctors do, because their job is keeping people alive. We just take care of after they're dead, but we're getting a pretty high amount of deceased over there.
I'm so sorry you're putting up with that. I'm so sorry I can't believe all the pain in the world, and I think that conspiracy theorists are just people that don't want to feel pain.
Or I think it could be. It could be. They also, I also could be they just want attention. They want to be the one seen as being different. Because what's interesting to me about conspiracy theorists? They generally come alive when everyone seems to agree on something. Like 9/11.
Yes.
We agreed that that 9/11 happened. And so the conspiracy theorists have to be the ones to disagree. We all agreed that Sandy Hook happened. Yet conspiracy theorists, oh, that's a hoax. We all agreed the Holocaust happens, and then comes the Nazi conspiracy theorists. Oh no, that didn't happen. They seem to capitalize most on things that on times when everyone agrees on things.
This is very interesting.
Yeah, you'll never hear conspiracy theorists be like, abortion is this or affirmative action that. You never hear them with that. It's always the times when everyone agrees on things that they seem to pop up.
That's so interesting, and it could be turned into really funny comedy.
Yes.
Do you do any comedy about that?
I didn't do any comedy about this because I just I just started thinking about all the conspiracy stuff like really recently. It's only been the past couple of days that I started seeing online all these people saying this is a hoax, or this is either way too overblown and whatnot. And well, is the Chinese government telling us the truth? Who knows? But I mean, are they telling us all the truth? Who knows? But to say that the deaths are being overblown is just so I only first started seeing it and digesting it recently. And you know what? You have a good point. I probably should be writing more comedy about it instead of being an idiot and taking the bait and arguing with them over the internet. Because really, that's probably what they want. Because without people like us arguing with them, they don't get their attention. So I take the blame for arguing with them.
I think it would be funny to talk about all the conspiracy theorists that aren't, all the things conspiracy theorists are not doing. Like not talking about world peace, not talking about the Nobel Peace Prize. Stuff like
it's always stuff. It's always stuff which everyone agrees on, and they have to be the one that's different to come up with a different angle on it.
That's hilarious, and it's also very sad. But there's in the tragedy, there's comedy, is what I'm saying.
And I've been doing comedy online. I've been doing online Zoom shows.
How's that going for you, Sol?
Thankfully, there's a show called Frumprov, Frumprov. It's predominantly for people who are Jewish and Orthodox, which I am to some level, and they what they do is they do Jewish and Orthodox style comedy. And I've been on it for, I think they do it once a week. I've been on it for like 3 or 4 times in a row. I lost count already. And I've been doing pretty well with them. Finally a show where I don't have to bring people. And I get to, I get to talk to a computer where I basically, hear total quiet in the background, which sounds like half my audience.
That's funny. Yeah, I've done a couple of Zoom shows, and I found myself really working, are you in there? So there you go. There's, I tried the way you have to connect with people when there's this wall between us is different. How are you enjoying the difference?
Well, come to think of it, all I can think of right now is what if this happened before the internet? And it would be a disaster. And now, you always hear a lot of religious people, mainly ultra-religious people, whether it's Jewish, ultra-religious people, ultra-religious Muslims, ultra-religious other people, that say the internet and social media is bad for you. Where are they now?
That's funny.
Yeah. Where are they now? Because you need it.
Yes. What would we do?
Yeah. I can't see myself surviving this without social media.
These interviews
There are times I kind of look back at the days before social media and think of the way we had so much less drama and whatnot. But now we're realizing how much, appreciate what you got,
Exactly. So I find that the times that I'm on these interviews are my social life. My connecting with you warms my heart. I can't touch you. I can't hug you,
Right.
But when I say goodbye to you, I'm sad. I'm so sad every time I say goodbye to somebody, because it's like, life's too short. We don't know who's going to be living and who's not going to make it through this.
Right, that's true. And it's the first time since my last breakup that there's a woman who said that to me, but that's okay. But it is interesting. Now you make an interesting point. I happen to live alone. I'm assuming you do too, right?
Yes.
Right. So I live alone, and as somebody who lives alone and depends a lot on periodically every couple days going to hang out in certain places where we get to see people live, that is, a bit of a loss for us,
Yes.
because just being home all the time isn't always, great when I'm not working, that is. But I've kind of reconciled, I kind of remedied that by spending some time with my family when I'm not working, and usually, and I also do a lot of, I've been doing quite a few either Zoom comedy shows or Zoom meetups with people. Like there's a program that I'm involved with called Auerbach. It's predominantly for teenagers and young adults, but I've been there quite a few years. So if you've been there as a teenager or a young adult, they let you hang out till whenever you want, as old as you want. And so I did that, and I chill out with a lot of those people on Zoom now at night, like 7 to 11 usually.
Great.
I don't mind the overlap of time. That's not what I'm bringing at. But but like they're on Sunday night through Thursday, so they could afford losing me for a few minutes.
Yes.
And on nights that I don't work or nights that I don't go to comedy clubs, I go at least 2-3 times a week, or did before the virus, to their program in Flatbush in person, and I would chill out there, hang out with the adults. The teenagers there like me, because they like my comedy and whatnot, and my music. I've done rap shows for them a few times. It's and that's pretty much a lot of my social life too. And I kind of like. So it hurts not having that in person, but at least I have them online. That's the best we got now.
Absolutely. So tell me, which came first in your life, the comedy or the rap?
Interesting question, the comedy, because I'll explain. I first got into stand-up comedy around 2007, 2008. Not exactly sure when, but like by summer 2008, I was like, when I started using the internet pretty regularly, which I didn't do for like the first 23 years of my life. I was born in '85. By 2008, I started using the internet. By summer 2008, when I had vacation from my school job, I started using the internet pretty regularly, and I got very into comedians, mostly stand-up comedians, but also, actors like Borat and Bruno, Sacha Baron Cohen, Ali G. I was very into Jim Norton in the beginning, and I still am. I love Jim Jeffries. I love Rich Voss. I love a lot of the comedians that were found back in the day in the Opie and Anthony show. It doesn't count as a plug because they don't exist anymore. But
what about the old Jewish comics, the great Jewish comics? I grew up with them.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever like the ones I would have watched when I was a kid in the 50s?
Yeah. I watched some of them. I watched Mason. I meant to watch Jackie Gleason, but I keep forgetting to do it. But but again, and around 2008 when I got into stand-up comedy, a lot of people would tell me that pretty regularly when I would talk, I would often try to sound like, I'd often sound like I was trying to mimic a comedian, even when I wasn't. I was just that much in love with stand-up comedy. Then around 2009, I went to my first ever stand-up comedy show called The Kosher Comedy, and I sat up front. I got picked on by the comedians, and I decided to I started going pretty regularly to in-person stand-up comedy shows for pretty regularly, and I would always sit in front, and I'd always get picked up by the comedians. I would always, after the show, I would always repeat things comedians would say. I would always have funny things to say to comedians when I'm being picked on, usually by the host at comedy clubs like Stand Up New York, Broadway, Kosher Comedy, so many great places, and over time, and then I started writing a lot of jokes on Facebook predominantly, or at times I would send them via text message to people who didn't have Facebook. And over time, some comedians picked up on that and said, a friend of mine by the name of Mike Fine is a great comedian.
I love him. I've never met him, but I've heard so many wonderful stories about him.
Yeah, he's great. And he messaged me and said, let's get you in contact with a number of stand-up comedians, and they'll help you. I think they might be able to help you write jokes and write funny stuff. And so what happened then is I started talking a lot to stand-up comedians, and they would tell me things like write every funny thing that comes to your head. But one of them also said, don't just write every funny thing that comes to your head. If you have something interesting or anything that may be of talent in some way or whatever, write it down. And for a little while I was writing just jokes, but then over time I started getting lyrics pop into my head that, like, for example, I once got the lyrics, you better quit that smack, because I got your but you better quit that smack, it's gonna get you back, you're gonna slide off track with all your dough on crack. That was supposed to be a joke at first, that rhymes, and I turned it into a rap song that I'm eventually going to come out with. I still didn't come out with it yet, but that's a whole different ball game, technical stuff, and over time I started writing not just jokes, but interesting stuff and music lyrics too. And I didn't even know that I have the voice for rap, and over time I found out that I kind of do. And, and a few years later, I got 2 songs out, and I was about to come out with a third one until the virus came and, postponed that for now.
Yes. So where are your songs out at? Are they on iTunes?
They're on iTunes. You can find them on iTunes. You can also find them on YouTube. I put them both on YouTube and on iTunes because even though on iTunes you make money, the sad fact of today is that most people don't really buy things on iTunes, and many don't even have iTunes. And even though you don't make much money off YouTube, if you want people to know about you, you have to put it out on YouTube. That's just the way I see it. Okay,
so your iTunes and your YouTube are rapper, dyslexic rapper?
Dyslexic Saul.
Dyslexic. Oh, it's Saul, not Soul.
SOL.
Yes, but you don't pronounce it. I was pronouncing it Soul, and it's Saul.
Oh, Soul is SOUL.
I know, but I thought that maybe it was a play on words.
Yes, Saul is an interesting name. Saul actually is there's 2 different names. Saul. There's Saul, which is which is SOL, which is short for Solomon.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Saul, SAUL, which is the Hebrew name Shaul, and SOL, it's for short for Solomon.
Got it.
So, yeah.
Okay, so if they go to iTunes or
Dyslexic space Saul.
Okay, Dyslexic space Saul.
Yes, 2 words. Dyslexic Saul.
Got it. Perfect. So you have another song, it just hasn't come out yet.
I have quite a few songs,
mm-hmm.
which I didn't get a chance to come out with yet.
Okay.
I came out 4 years ago with a song called the 9/11 Tribute Song.
Wow.
9/11 rap blink of an eye. It's a little lengthy of a name, but whatever. That got almost 21,000 views in 4 years, which isn't a lot, but it's, for the amount of people that I know, it's
wonderful.
Yeah, and I came out in December with a song called I'm Giving Back, which is a tribute to the Our Place program that helped me out. And so far that got about 2,000 views. But it's got only 1 dislike, so all the enemies gotta, my enemies out there, you gotta step up your game. No, I'm kidding. Don't. Just 1 dislike and 100 some odd likes. But,
So tell me about your comedy life.
How's comedy life?
Tell me, let's switch over to the comedy side of Saul.
Okay, I have an interesting observation I got to tell you about both my comedy and rap careers.
Okay.
I have a lot of great relationships with comedians, and I have a lot of great relationships with a lot of different music artists. The comedians love my music, and the music artists love my comedy. Yeah, it's just the way it is. It's just an interesting level of karma.
Yes.
And as for my comedy career, I haven't come out with anything as good in comedy as I did with my 2 songs, which is good from a music perspective. But I try to. I've been on some really good shows. I've been on the Kosher Comedy Show. I've been on Stone and Stone, which is the Adam Stone and Todd Stone twins. I've been on Funniest Jewish Comedians. I've been on Fromprov. I've been on stage with some pretty prestigious people. I've been on stage with Mike Fine. I've been on stage with Phil Selman. I've been on stage with Dante Nero. And these guys have all been on stage with I think, Chris Rock. I don't know about Dante Nero, but like some of these guys that I've been on stage with have opened for Chris Rock, Ray Romano, Adam Sandler. I'm on the same stage as was I on the same stage as? I was on the same stage as Lenny Marcus. I've been on I was on the stage. I think I was on the same stage as Mike Fine. I think I was once on the same stage as Avi Lieberman.
Whoa.
I'm not sure. And he's getting pretty high profile now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's your favorite New York comedy club? Or what? Or some of the favorites, if you don't want to get yourself in.
Whichever one's watching now, I love you most.
Very good.
Well, I like Stand Up New York a lot because they've done things for me. Even though I've only performed there a couple times, but they've done quite a few things for me. They hosted a birthday roast for me at the house of Gabe, Greg, Mike Fine, and Kenny Gluck was there too. A lot of great comics were there. They've also hosted me on a few podcasts. The Mad Dog Mattern show. It's not on anymore, but I was on his podcast a few times. As a rapper, not as a comedian. For the same thing, for the reason I mentioned before. And it's been a joy. I even though I only performed there a few times, I feel like my relationship with them and with the people there has been wonderful. I can walk in anytime, and everyone knows me.
Yes, I love it there.
It's great. I love it.
I lived in New York, and then I lived in New York in the 90s, and I had a daughter just out of high school, and we had no money, none, $15 a week to eat on. And Stand Up New York let me sell tickets. They gave me tickets and let me sell them for $2.
Oh wow!
And I was making money hand over fist.
Keep like $1.
No, they let me keep $2. They just gave me they knew my need, and they just gave me tickets and let me sell them and keep the money.
Oh wow!
Interesting. Yeah, so I love Stand Up New York, but that was in the early 90s.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Tickets in the early 90s were $2?
No, they were 10, but they told me, if you're out there selling them, I mean, we give them away, but we'll let you be out there selling them for $2. Just keep the money.
Gotcha. Wow, they got good hearts.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
What has the pandemic done to make you a better human, or care more about the world or other people?
Interesting question. It makes me, understand it makes me understand the value of life. It makes me understand the little things. It makes me appreciate the little things. It makes me understand that that we all could affect society. We all and we have to understand that what we do can affect society. And life, to me, isn't just about me, my freedom, my this, my that. It's also about what we can do. We learn that there's small things we can do to contribute to society, and and if all they're asking for to help avoid a pandemic getting worse is just wear a mask when you go out, or wear gloves when you go out, or stay 6 feet away from people, and don't go out too much if you don't have to. It's a price you got to learn to pay sometimes, and it's hard, it's difficult. I wouldn't judge anybody because people have rent to pay, and the bills. I know firsthand the bills don't just walk away. They don't just disappear. Or they disappear, but the light disappears too. Then.
Yes.
So I understand when people feel they need to go out to work. So I'm not going to judge anybody, but I'm just saying on a personal level, for me, it makes me understand, a lot of different things that I wouldn't have always understood. But at the same time, I also suffer from a number of medical conditions one of them is called misophonia, which I know there's not going to be any cure anytime soon for it.
What is that?
It's a sensitivity to lots of different types of sounds and sometimes touch too, like whistling. I can't stand that sound.
Wow.
But the reason I'm mentioning that is because I'm not terribly surprised that a virus came out that there's no cure for, because I've seen illnesses that don't have any cures or much treatment for quite some time. So I'm not particularly surprised by the pandemic. But, I'm surprised by the magnitude of it, but I'm not surprised totally that it happened.
Right.
So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yes. Well,
how's things by you?
Well, where I'm at, I'm in Vegas, and so it's usually Sin City, but there's no sin here right now, so that's odd.
Oh, that's got to be difficult.
That's really hard.
Sin City, that's the most fun part of it.
I know, right? This is where everybody comes. They save up all their sin bitcoins and come here and cash them in. But yeah.
I went to Vegas in 2013, and true story, everyone was like, admit it, Saul, you're going to Vegas for the gambling and the hookers. And I'm like, that's a lie, I don't gamble.
That's a good one. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, thank you.
It's so weird out here because usually you can rely on the tourists to make you feel safe because, the homeless people will ask the tourists for money, but there's no tourists for them to hit up for money. So really, I feel bad for the homeless. I can't imagine being homeless during a pandemic.
Right.
But they are hitting on the regular people a lot more. So.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to be homeless in Vegas because there's no subways there.
Yes, and the heat today was like 100. What's the temperature in New York like, Saul?
Getting better. It was cold for a bit, but it's starting to. Today was the first day in a while that I saw people walking out without a coat. It's going to be May soon, so I expect to not have to use my coat much longer. And boy, does my coat need a break from my fat belly. It's getting nice, the weather. Again, which is also going to be hard to make people, for people not to come out during this weather. But at the same time, people are going to come out, just wear masks and keep the social distancing and wear gloves. That's all I ask for.
Absolutely. We have a guy here in my building where I live, and he came down with the virus, and he refused to stay in his room. And yeah. And some of the people who happen to be young and are detached from what's going on in New York drive me up the wall. I went round, and they think that I'm just, an old crazy lady and I'm paranoid and I don't really care what they think.
firm as a funeral worker, there's young and healthy people are dying too from this.
Yeah, okay. Got it.
And otherwise healthy people.
Yes, not just with pre-existing conditions.
No.
Wow.
That's a myth. That's not true.
Wow. This is something else, something we've never seen in our lifetime. My parents went through the Holocaust.
Sorry to hear.
Thank you. Yeah, so, they didn't follow, you said that you're Orthodox. My parents were Orthodox in Germany. Well, my dad was. My mother was a Christian with a Jewish father. So
Right, that's cool.
I'm not really considered
I don't care.
What's that?
I'm good with that. None of that stuff bothers me.
Thank you
totally good with all different races.
I grew up in a very judgmental world where I wasn't wanted at church or in synagogue. So thank you for saying that. But
Sounds like the female version of Ill Bill the rapper.
really?
Yeah, he wrote about not being wanted by being a white Jew who lived in a ghetto, and he wasn't wanted by the white kids, the Jewish kids, or the black kids. So I kind of know the feeling.
Yeah. So when you're doing comedy, when you're doing rap,
Yeah.
are you ever around a lot of people who are of black skin color, people of color, and you're white and you're Jewish and you feel awkward?
White and Jewish, yes. The awkward part, no. White and Jewish, yes. Amongst black people, all the time. Awkward, no. I got plenty of black friends.
Cool. That's awesome. And so that means they accept you because they feel that you keep it real. All you have to do is just be who you are and you're accepted. If you try to be something you're not accepted. That's what I feel.
Yeah. Now, most of them, they're just fine with white rappers. I don't think I've ever met somebody who had a problem. I've met many black people, both people I've known from before and people that were strangers who I told that I was a rapper to. I don't think a single one of them ever had a negative thing to say. What's it called? And none of them were like, upset about it. They were all like, "Oh, this is really cool. A white Jewish rapper, interesting."
It is cool.
I just as long as I find that as long as I don't I think as long as I don't use the N-word, I'm fine. And there was one black guy that I saw. He actually had a different opinion on it. He actually said, "By the way, if you want to be successful in rap, I think you're going to have to use the N-word." And I said to him, "And I don't have to use." When I said the word that time, I don't have to use the N-word to be successful in rap. That might just be the only time I ever used that word to a black guy. But but it was all jokes. It was all fun and games. Nobody, nobody was upset. Otherwise, I would never use such a horrible word. I don't even need to use that word. I'm glad I can't use that word. I just tell, I've also seen I've seen a lot of white people who say, how come, they could say the word with, with the A at the end, but I can't. And the way I say it is, I'm glad. It's such a bad word. I'm glad I can't use that word. It's a horrible word. In fact, I like to tell my black friends to call me Crazy Kike with Psych and Cracker with Swagger. The reactions when I tell them to call me that are priceless.
It's great.
Yeah.
So
but I get along just fine with them.
That's great. I'm about to wrap it up because it's 45 minutes in. And I just want to let you know that I care about what you're going through, being in a funeral home where you're in New York, where the worst of it is. And so my closing little question would be, if you were handed $1 million to go make somebody laugh or do rap somewhere in the world to some hurting group of people, where would you go if you had $1 million to go spend getting there, staying there for months? Where would you go to ease the pain in the world?
out there. There's a lot of places out there that could use the paint easing, you know. Part of me would love to, you know, go to Israel and see if I could, you know, pull off what Sacha Baron Cohen pretended to want to pull off in his Bruno movie and see if I can get, you know, people to make peace, but that's going to be hard. Another part of me wishes I could just go to really anywhere and just do music for people. Because music I would do probably before comedy, because music speaks all languages, and more people appreciate music than they do comedy, unfortunately, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know. I can't pick a specific place, but if it would be music or comedy, it would definitely be music.
Got it. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
So I'll point them to your Facebook, but
Yes.
I think you have quite a few pages. Where do you want the traffic to go to?
On Facebook, Saul Auerbach, the one that the account that just says SOL with the last name Auerbach. There's a few of accounts like that, but the one there's Saul Auerbach, and that's the main one I want. Not the one with the Saul Auerbach 2. That's my backup account for whenever I get sucked.
Okay.
When I get banned from posting, you know, too many inappropriate things or whatever they say. There's also Saul P. Auerbach, but that's my Words of Inspiration account. My comedy and music account is Saul Auerbach, the one with the Saul Auerbach, the one with the picture of me performing in a restaurant that looks a little bit like a garage, but it's actually an open window restaurant. It's a window restaurant, and with the picture, I think the other picture is with me on the Kosher Comedy Show. I don't even remember. It's so long ago since I changed my profile and pictures.
Well, for having been in comedy since 2007 and breaking into the rap industry as a white Jewish rapper, I think you're amazing. And if I could come through, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Why does this happen? If I could come through the screen, I'd hug you. If I could come through the screen, I would hug you because I think you're amazing for what all you have accomplished in a short period of time.
Oh, how sweet.
13 years, and look at all the places and the people you've done comedy with. And breaking into rapping as a white Jewish young man. Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. What?
Yeah.
Thank you, Saul. Love you. See you on Facebook. Yes, I'll make these additions of where to find you on the internet. And if I make any errors, send me a message and correct me. And if you could click share so it goes on your page, I'd appreciate it. Anything you want to say in closing?
Yes, take this virus seriously, please. I'm a funeral worker.
In New York.
Yes.
Yes, take it seriously.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Saul. Please listen to the whole tape because he went into detail about what he's experiencing at a funeral home in New York.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye. Thanks.
All the best.
You too. Love you. Bye.